Welcome back. Today, we will make a video about breast reduction surgery. What is breast reduction surgery? In this video, before we get into the details, what is a large breast? Why do we want to reduce it? Look, for example, if you say sagging breast, there is a definition for sagging breast. Why? This is the inframammary sulcus. This fold here is the upper part of the breast, and this is the lower part. If the nipple is above this line, it is not a sagging breast. Of course, there are pseudo-sagging cases, but I am excluding those from this discussion. The further the nipple goes below this line, the more advanced the stage of sagging breast. So, what happens then? We can perform a breast lift surgery using techniques that reposition the nipple to its original place and remove excess skin. So, what is a large breast? Why do people want to reduce their breasts? Frankly, there is a definition for sagging breast. For small breasts, we might say they are the ones below the inframammary sulcus. But there isn't a specific definition for when a breast is considered large enough to require reduction. However, there are certain criteria. What kind of problems do large breasts cause that make people want to reduce them? Because there are also people who like very large breasts. Look, when the breast starts to sag. From the side view, your spine is your reference point at the front of your body. When there is a large breast in front of you, it starts to create a weight that constantly pulls you forward and disrupts the balance of your spine, and this weight starts to disrupt the anatomical curve that your spine should have, and these distortions can even be measured radiologically when X-rays are taken. So, what happens? What happens when the curvature of your spine starts to deteriorate? Pain starts to appear in the spine, lower back and shoulders. Besides that, you are ultimately carrying the breast with a bra strap. The marks from the bra straps are starting to appear. Large breasts will eventually be pulled down by gravity. Because they are pulled down, there is a heavy fold at the bottom. With the heavy fold rubbing against your body, we see a number of wounds, rashes. And in this closed, non-ventilated environment, fungal growths, infections, and color changes, which make us realize that this breast is large, even though there isn't a formulaic definition based on weight. We can observe and define a breast as large based on the problems it causes. Due to these issues, people come to us and say they want to undergo breast reduction surgery. What does it mean? Lines on the shoulders, marks from the bra strap, neck and shoulder pain, rashes under the breasts, color changes, and fungal infections all indicate that the breasts have reached a problematic size. So, how is a breast reduced? First, after we understand that our decision is correct, we can start discussing the techniques. There are different techniques. Depending on how large the breast is, generally, the most commonly performed technique, on average, is the inverted T-shaped incision in the breast, where parts of the mammary gland, skin, and fatty tissue are removed. This is the technique we use the most. What do I mean? Imagine the nipple of the breast being a bit more upright. Of course, it is lower. The nipple, along with the surrounding tissues, is separated from the skin and freed. And then, according to the plan, and the part we call the pedicle, that provides vascularization, we reduce the tissues around it while moving the nipple from its current position upwards, and we also reduce the mammary glands around it. As we said, if a breast is composed of skin, mammary gland, and fatty tissue, then if I want to reduce a breast, I will remove some of all these tissues. After opening the skin like a jacket, we remove the amount of tissue we want to discard, then move the nipple upwards. And finally, we put the jacket back on. When we dressed it, what happened if our incision was vertical? And also at the bottom, we made an inverted T-shaped incision. Of course, there is also one around the nipple. this incision, this incision, this incision, incision, this incision, incision, this incision, incision, this incision. Some patients want breast reduction surgery without this incision, but that is not possible. There is a technique where an incision is made around the breast, removing some of the tissues and reducing some of the surrounding milk glands to make the breast smaller. In fact, there is also such a lifting technique, but this is not possible with very large breasts because you will have too much excess skin. After you remove the tissues inside, emptying them is not a problem. You need to gather all this excess skin towards the nipple. In this area, there will be a very wrinkled structure, and due to the pressure from this, the nipple can heal very easily. Therefore, accepting these vertical incisions and the lower incisions can result in a much better breast shape. Oh, what else is there besides the nipple? There's an incision around the nipple, commonly referred to as a lollipop. A downward cut is made, and it is called that. This vertical scar mammoplasty is a technique for breast reduction surgery. But here, the excess skin that we normally remove with an inverted T incision is gathered vertically in a pleated manner, and it is expected that these pleats will smooth out over time. Usually it does get better, yes, but in so many cases there are problems in this area such as deformities, bulges here, and later the need for revisions, etc. That's why I don't like this method. And I don't think there are many people left doing it around the world. When Lejour popularized it back in the day, many people were doing it. Almost everyone used to talk about this topic as if a miracle method had been found to get rid of the issue below. But over the years, people gradually gave up on it. I used to do it a lot for a while, but I stopped because it really required small touches and revisions. In summary, planning based on the scar. That will appear in breast reduction surgery is a big mistake. What matters is the shape of the breast. If your breast has achieved a beautiful shape, based on my experience, the remaining scar does not bother patients. There are very, very few patients who complain about this. The shape is not important. The scar that will appear is a stitch that has been sewn with extreme care in an aesthetic sense. The scar, like all wounds, will heal in the same way for Mehmet. It's a matter that depends on both the doctor and the patient. So technically we need to stitch it very well. The thread materials we use need to be extremely hypoallergenic after ensuring this. We then move on to the patient's volume, the patient's metabolic processes. Does the patient smoke? Does he/she use alcohol? How is his/her nutrition? Is there a genetic predisposition to poor scarring? We will see the answers to these questions over time. But, as I said, the scar here is definitely an acceptable scar in terms of shape. There is another technique we haven't discussed here for very large breasts. The extent of this largeness is debatable. For breasts that are very, very large and sagging significantly downward, it can be very difficult to move the nipple to the tip while preserving its vascular structure. So what should be done in this situation? In this case, there is also a method where we completely detach the nipple from the body. Place it on the table, shape the breast, and then reattach it. In this method, the bud-like structure of the breast, which we call the nipple, is usually lost. But sometimes, when they are very large, we have to use the technique we call free nipple. Of course, there is a loss of sensitivity because it is attached here. Yes, breast reduction surgery is a relatively simple procedure, usually not very painful, performed under general anesthesia. You stay in the hospital for one night, and after the surgery, you feel reborn, as if a weight has been lifted off your shoulders. You feel light as a feather, and instead of wanting to lie down, you feel like running and moving around constantly. People really enjoy this surgery immensely because it's not just a cosmetic issue. It's really fascinating how the entire load on the spine is lifted and how one can't comprehend how they carried it for years. It is generally a very gratifying surgery. If you have any questions about this topic, please write them below the video. We will try to answer them as best as we can. Of course, there are a lot of details. Here I tried to briefly touch on the basic features without boring you. Thank you for listening.